Hi, I'm Valerie Keaton with the San Juan County Textile Guild, and I'm here today with Jason Munkris. And Jason, I'd like to talk to you today about your creative process. And I'm wondering how you're doing during the coronavirus in terms of your creative process.
Um, Pretty well. I had just finished kind of a flurry of projects that I was working on, a series of rugs that I was weaving over the fall, and um, when the starting in January, I started working on some new projects, kind of tentatively, just finishing up some of the other work I had done with yarn dyeing and things like that. And um, and then when the pandemic hit and people were in lockdown, I had kind of already started working on some projects. So the creative part of that, for the most part, had kind of already been done, and it was just working through the projects themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
when it came time to starting a new project, I did feel not like I was not very motivated. It was hard to sort of come up with something that I liked. I have a sort of
Uh-huh.
design process that I go through, and I just wasn't hitting on anything I liked. And I tried out a couple of different things. You do some samples on your loom, you weave a couple of things, and I just wasn't happy with anything I was doing. It was technically it was all working just fine, but I just wasn't excited about it, and I didn't feel like I wanted to start something that I just feel kind of meh about. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I did eventually come up with something that I liked, uh, and I finished that project and started another one. So I feel like I've kind of gotten back into the groove of it a little bit. Um,
Okay.
but the big things I worked on were the ones before that I had started in January, and
Uh-huh.
those actually turned out really well. So um,
Well, do you have some work that you'd like to show us today?
I do. In fact, I'll share some of the I'll share uh, some of the work that I had started in January. Um, First, I thought I would share this. This is part of my work process.
So complicated.
And so what I'm doing is I'm blending different colors together, and these are all stuff that I dyed, and
Mm-hmm.
each number represents a different color, and so I'm blending them together. And so, to be honest, I think it's maybe a little more complicated than it needs to be, and it's actually not as complicated as it looks. But anyway,
Uh-huh.
I thought I would share that. I thought that would be fun. Um,
Okay.
but these are the rugs that I did, and I do this thing where I blend colors together and get this kind of um,
Yeah.
gradient of colors. And these ones I was actually very, very happy with and how they turned out. So what I'm going for here is just sort of a color gradient that maybe suggests like a sea scene, like something
Mm-hmm.
looking out to sea, or like a sunset or a sunrise. Um, and this is a close up of that same rug, and you can see the different colors from one end to the other.
Yeah.
Um,
The gradation is just amazing.
it's
It
it's the
I can
kind
see how the numbers on the chart turned into this.
Yeah, and so it turned out, this is probably the most satisfying one I think I've done, as far as like what I'm looking for. This was the
Mm-hmm.
second one, which is the same idea, most of the same yarns, but I thought I would add some pink into it at the end, sort of pink and sort of rose colored things.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so this is that same. So it's basically the same, a lot of the same colors, except with some additional stuff you can see there at the end, that sort of orangey pinkish look.
Yeah.
And then the third rug in that series is kind of a combination of the two. Um, More pink in the end, but the pink is sort of spread out a little more throughout the rug. Um, in fact, when I look at these now, they really do look like you're looking out to sea. And so I really like that effect.
Especially this one, that horizon line on that one is just, it's really,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful, Jason.
And I strive to not have any definitive lines like that, but in this case, it really worked out well. And then this is a close-up of that rug. And that's it for the things I had to share for today.
And what can you tell me, what is the size of those rugs? Are they all about the same size?
They're all the same size. They're all about 30, I guess about 30 inches wide and about 45 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more like 50 inches long, actually. So, so slightly bigger than I normally do, but you know, nothing that big. So.
All righty. So it sounds like, you and I actually were in a similar place. It's like I found that working on things I'd already planned and kind of checking things off my list, and doing things that were repetitive and kind of comforting, it's like, obviously there was a lot of work that went into those rugs, but did you find that the weaving of them was relaxing because you'd already done the work?
Yeah, a lot of times weaving a large rug, it can actually get boring after a while, believe it or not, especially if it's just, big solid colors. You just sort of plod through and go to the next thing. The thing I like about these particular ones is that as you weave, the colors are constantly changing. And so,
right.
so that in itself is kind of satisfying. And there's something, it's like you said, there's something comforting about doing something you're familiar with. And so these kinds of things have really helped me to sort of not have so much anxiety about what's going on in the world today. And so just the routine, have something that you normally do, have something that you're comfortable doing, something that you feel like you're good at, and just keep doing those things. And that's what sort of helped me. And once I was done with those, that's when I started to feel a little more anxious about what's going on and what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what's, are we going to have a fair? Are we going to have an art market? Are we going to have all these things, which turns out we're not having. Well, we're having a fair, but it's different. But you know what I mean? That's kind of when all the anxiety kind of set in. I live in a place where I live in a place on the island where I'm kind of off by myself a lot anyway. So a lot of this isn't that different from my normal routine. And so it is nice to have this sense of normalcy, even though things are just going crazy out there in the world.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just want to thank you for your time today and tell you, as usual, your work is so inspiring to me.
Thank you.
Those rugs are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jason.
You're welcome.